in the early 18th century, Jamaica's Lieutenant Governor, Colonel Peter Beckford, a devout Anglican, left £1,000 to start a school. The school, named the Free School of St. Jago de la Vega, was established in 1744 at the northwest corner of Young and Beckford Streets and catered to boys of high school age.
Similarly, in the early 19th century, Francis Smith, Custos of St. Catherine, bequeathed £3,000 to start a school. This school, the Smiths Charity School, opened in 1833 and was built near to the present location of the Cathedral of St. Jago de la Vega.
In 1876, the two schools merged to form the Beckford and Smiths Boys' School.
In 1897, Canon E.J. Wortley and Archbishop Enos Nuttall established the Cathedral High School for Girls, one of the few secondary schools catering to girls.
In 1955, the Cathedral High School for Girls was amalgamated with Beckford and Smith School for Boys and, moving back to a name closer to the original, was renamed St. Jago High School.
In 1956, the St. Jago Girls High School and St. Jago Boys High School, as they could be called because they occupy different sites, finally came together when the parcel of land Ravensworth on Monk Street was purchased and the school was built. Under the watchful eyes of board chairman Mr. A.S. Campbell and principal Mr. Orbell, assisted by vice principal Mr. Bent, the school continues its tradition of being the leader in many fields of endeavor.
I started St. Jago with Mr. Bell as principal and simply remember being in awe of this gentleman as a junior student. I'd only see him during devotion, I recall, I think, in front of the student body at the time, or in front of the main administrative building, because unless you were a senior student, I'm not sure what happens now, but or in trouble of some kind of trouble, you were not allowed to walk through the foyer of the admin building. So I recall mostly for Mr. Bell the students' goodbye function, and being moved to tears by the singing of the theme song from To Serve With Love. I think the person who stood, I've been trying to remember her name, Judith somebody, but it was inspiring and breathtaking, and it moved me.
In 1977, Mr. Victor Edwards became principal and was assisted by vice principals Mrs. Murray, Mrs. Urquhart, and Mr. Johnson. By 1991, under the leadership of Mr. Edwards, research conducted by Professor Miller of the University of the West Indies led him to state openly that St. Jago was the number one school in all of Jamaica.
Hi, I'm Natalie Phillips Whiteley, member of the graduating class of 1990. I remember Mr. Victor Edwards as a very strict yet loving principal. He was also a motivator, and I remember one of his many quotes during devotion. It was, "Two men behind prison bars. One saw the mud, the other saw the stars. We all get the same opportunities. It is what we do with it. I encourage you all to make the best of your years at St. Jago."
It's now the year 1992 when St. Jago got its third principal, Mr. Keith Noel, aiming not only to establish undeniably the fact that St. Jago High is the best in Jamaica, but to move it to make it the best school in the Caribbean.
What was your vision for St. Jago? Well, I had a vision which was not clear at first, but then it crystallized very shortly afterwards. When I reached there and I took in the school, I always felt that a student body must love the school. And that's one of the things I wanted. I wanted every St. Jago student to love St. Jago. And I wanted St. Jago to do well in everything it attempted. And those formed part of my vision. And I wanted the students to be well-rounded, that when they left St. Jago, not only were they academically well fitted, but in many other areas, they would also feel that they belonged to the society, they could contribute.
What would you say was your best experience at St. Jago?
Well, during my sojourn at St. Jago, I enjoyed many what I would say were successes. I really built up, first and foremost, the feeling that the school belonged to the community and the community belonged to the school. And I also got the feeling that the students really loved being at St. Jago. And one of the ways I did that was by making them involved in the school activities. And many students who were not really good at anything specially became very good at being St. Jago students. And they would support the school and everything it did. And I really tried my best to achieve that. And then I remember after 1 year or two, after a year, put it that way, of really good achievements, at the end of the year, we usually have a end of year ceremony, end of school year or school term. Before they go off, I would bring them into the hall and talk, send them off feeling good. But that year, it was the end of a year. And I went to it and I kept telling them I was so fortunate to be at such a wonderful school, at such a wonderful time in the school development. And they shared it with me. And I remember when I was going through how we had done, we had come about third in football, and they celebrated with me. And we had won this Marcus Garvey Award for Excellence in the Performing Arts, which is something that from the time that award started, St. Jago had won it every time, and we won it straight for 10 years. And then other things I kept talking about how we are doing well, and it's somewhere in it I just said, yes, so you must feel proud of it, man. And you say St. Jago, and then when I said St. Jago, and I said number one, and they all shouted, yes, number one. And then I said St. Jago, and they shouted number one. I said, and there started what became almost a mantra. That was our thing, St. Jago number one. And then at the end of that ceremony, I don't know what to call it, but it was heady. When the students were to go, normally at the end of it, it's holiday time now, so they all want to pour out of the school quickly. They were clapping, and they had just said their last St. Jago number one, and then they started a rhythmic chant, Jago, and the boys started saying, a big school, Jago, a big school. And they were, instead of rushing out, they were going out slowly, and the chants developed, and my head was swollen, because that is what I wanted. And I really, really enjoyed those moments when St. Jago, a big school. I would never forget it. And when they went out in the yard, they were outside of the hall. They were still chanting it, and I went out. My Santiago singers, a choir I had formed, were on the stage with me, and they started saying it too. And I was born out with that, and that is my dearest memory of St. Jago, a big school.
What was it like when you first came to St. Jago as principal?
When I first went to St. Jago, I was struck by a number of things. But first of all, I had done my research and I knew it was an Anglican school. And I was very happy to be principal of an Anglican school. As an Anglican myself, and as a person who was sure that the Anglicans had done a lot for education and it was not appreciated, especially in a place like Spanish Town, which was not a very Anglican community. The other things was that this school had had a very good principal before, Mr. Victor Edwards, and therefore had built up a number of traditions. And because it had an excellent staff, the academic traditions were very strong, but they were also very good in certain other areas as well. As sport, for example, they were very good at that. I also was aware that the community in which the school was situated was a poor community. Well, I don't want to say poor, because if we were poor, they were very rich in certain areas. But it was a depressed community, but they were very supportive of the school. And I had a very great chairman. The chairman was the Honorable Justice Lindsay Wolf, who had been very encouraging to me in the interview when he was interviewing me for the post. I realized that he was going to support me, but he was not going to micromanage and try to run the school from behind. I think those are the things that struck me most. I love the student body as well.
Mr. Keith Noel was assisted by Vice Principals Mrs. Anna Jones and Mrs. Nina Bulgin.
January 2009 was an important milestone in the history of St. Jago High School, as Mrs. Sandra Swyer-Watson was appointed the fourth principal of St. Jago High School, being the first female and past student occupying the position.
In addition to this, Mrs. Watson was assisted by Vice Principals Miss Ardeen Jones and Mr. Michael Yeasing, who are both past students.
What was it like when you first came to St. Jago as principal?
Well, I didn't come to St. Jago as principal. I was the vice principal. I've been on staff from 1987, coming through the ranks of teacher, class teacher, senior teacher, vice principal. So I was acting principal in 2007. Mr. Noel went on leave, and I became principal in 2009. What was it like? Tell the truth, there wasn't much of a transition, because the kind of principal Mr. Noel was, we had a strong management team, we had regular management meetings, and Mr. Noel was a very great delegator. So the management team knew what was happening in the school and were all involved in managing the school, even though he was the head manager, the head teacher, principal. And so it was a very good experience, but nothing that I could manage because I was trained to do so.
What was your vision for St. Jago?
While I was a student at St. Jago between 1967 and 1974, St. Jago students were encouraged to be well-rounded. We did everything. We were encouraged to be everything. And we did academics. We were good at it. We did sports, we did performing arts, we did extracurricular activities like debating and chess, everything. And we loved it, and we excelled at all of them. And so, for a time, it was different because parents wanted their children to be stronger academically because of the competition, I think, for university places and the schools looking better than whichever school. And so I think after a while we had the number of children who were doing everything had fallen apart. And my vision was that St. Jago would return to the days where we had well-rounded children, children who were engaged in developing all their skills and talents. Our children are very well talented, we are brilliant, and we are very good at everything that we do. And it was my intention that we work towards it, and the staff agreed with me because they could identify children who were able to do lots of things. And that was such a joy. So we took up back our debating and our chess and our schools challenge, which we never really waned, sporting activities, the performing arts, which grew under Mr. Noel very much. And so I enjoyed school, and I think school is more fun when you do more than just classwork. School is more fun, you have a better experience than St. Jago High School. Not as a school, it's an experience. So when we engage in all these things, like you and your techie club, when you do all these things and you showcase all your talents, you have a lot more fun. The interaction between students is better. Your social skills improve, and you become better persons. You become better prepared for the world as it is, for Jamaica and the world at large. And that was my vision, that we would have students or graduates would be able to perform at any level, anywhere, anything they do. Everyone would know that they went to St. Jago. The best.
What would you say was your best experience at St. Jago?
Gosh, there are so many. I enjoyed my time here as a student, and from day one, I wasn't always a teacher. I was in the private sector and finding it very boring and I don't know anybody does it. And I fell into teaching by accident and just never left. I loved it. And I enjoyed being a teacher on staff at St. Jago High School. There was a lovely staff, so talented, brilliant, who cared about their children. We were not here just because of them making a money or doing a job. The teachers of St. Jago over the years, and I don't think it's any different now, love their children. And we decided to push the bounds. We decided that children need a greater challenge. We were doing well, but we could have done better. And so we sat down as a management team, and with the vice principal at the time, Michael Yising, we decided to create a group of children who would be able to do 10 subjects in one sitting. It wasn't a very well done activity anywhere in the country. We had one or two students in schools that were doing 10 and 12 and 13 subjects. But to have an entire batch that was doing 10 subjects, that was not normal. And so we pushed the bounds and we challenged our best performers to do 10 subjects in one sitting. I think there were either 38 or 41 students in that class. All of them got their 10 subjects. That was a high point for me. I'll never forget Matthew Blake, who was the best performer overall. Matthew got his 10 subjects with 10 ones. Matthew got a scholarship to the University of the West Indies based on his fifth form results, his CSEC results. And he won the Caribbean trophy for the best performer in the arts. And that for me, and you know why? Matthew did chess. Matthew was doing cricket. He was involved in volleyball. He was doing so much. His entire family, that family, the Blake family, were outstanding. And they're all high achievers. And even now, they're doing very, very well. But that for me, as an administrator, as a teacher, as a principal, was a high point. But there were so many others right throughout. When we won girls' champs for the first time in 1996, I think. We won boys' champs in 1987. And we went on again to win boys' champs in 1993. The first time we won chess under my watch, and we have not stopped winning chess. And the Schools Challenge victory after so many years, and we're still winning Schools Challenge, we're still competing. And the fact is that St. Jago High School, every time we enter, people get nervous. We are the team to beat. And once you beat St. Jago, you can celebrate. I remember a principal from a prominent high school calling me to asking me what is it that we do at St. Jago, why our children love school so much, why we do so well, and how we get them to perform in every area. I went to a principal's meeting, and a principal of a next prominent high school said, "You can't give us some of the pie, why St. Jago want to win everything?" Because we were, and our children loved it. They were not pressured. They love school and they're doing the best they can. And we have great parental support and the past students association. Our stakeholder participation, people we don't even know. The Spanish Town community supports us. And so St. Jago has done well because I think we have managed to capture the imagination of the town and many people across the island, all over the world. People look out for St. Jago High School. Our graduates have done well and we have trained them well, and I pray it will continue. So far, I think it is, and I'm very excited to be part of the St. Jago High School family, part of the experience, and I wish our school well. I consider myself, it's as I wish us all well, I'm still St. Jago, always will be.
In January 2016, current principal Mrs. Colette Furtado Price came to St. Jago as principal, once more setting the precedent of a past student serving as principal of their noble institution. Currently, Mrs. Price is assisted by vice principals Mrs. Antoinette Wright-Dallin and Mrs. Karine James Barnett, who are both past students.
What was it like when you first came to St. Jago as a principal?
I came to St. Jago as principal in January 2016, and it was a mixture of emotions because a lot of things were happening in my life then in terms of my career. So I had some decisions to make, and now I am happy that I made St. Jago number one choice. It felt surreal. I was coming back home, and basically life comes, it's full circle to be principal of my alma mater. It took a lot of calculation on my very first day to park in that space reserved for principals, because when I was in school, Mr. Edwards was my principal, and just that garage, that was considered as sacred ground. But I got over that and I settled in pretty quickly because I was home. But I think what struck me more than ever was the spirit of St. Jago. It's indescribable what I encountered here, something that I never ever experienced anywhere during my time teaching. And for me, St. Jago was just a personality. The teachers, the students, all members of staff, and there's no place I'd rather be than St. Jago High School at this point in my life. No regrets.
What would you say was your best What would you say was your best experience at St. Jago?
There are so many things to talk about in terms of my experiences here. There's always something happening, the school that never sleeps, and we've accomplished so much. The trophies on the campus, in my office and outside, are a testimony to this. So many things to celebrate day in, day out. But I think my very first graduation ceremony at St. Jago High School is what lingers in my mind because of the support shown by the students for each other. And let me tell you what I mean. Amongst all the pomp and pageantry of the event, when the certificates were handed out, I've never experienced anything like that before. The students were screaming and cheering each other on. It didn't matter who went to collect his or her certificate. They were just one big happy family. And that is what I like about St. Jago. We are one. We are one family. We are supportive of each other. And I think that resonates with me. You know, the spirit of Ravensworth, and as I said, the personality of our school. But who knows, top 5, we could probably be even top 3 schools in Jamaica. But There's a lot of work to be done in terms of creating that stimulating environment for our students. And so for the next 3 years, it is my intention to focus on securing and retrofitting our classrooms to be technologically advanced spaces to suit the needs or to better able equip our students to function better in that global marketplace.
Hello, friends. My name is Dr. Ewart Brown, former student of San Jago High. I am honored to have the opportunity to say a few words to you on Founders Day about my favorite topic, San Jago High School, my school. Of course, when I attended San Jago many, many years ago, it was a different place in a different time. My principal was Mr. O.R. Bell. Mr. Bell was an interesting gentleman. He was kind, but he was also very strong and disciplined. He taught us many things, but the things that stood out for me and still stand out to this day, two things. One, he taught us that success was achievable through hard work. And number two, he taught us that excellence was expected of you if you attended San Jago. Because attendance at San Jago is not a right, it is a privilege. Please carry that with you as you represent our institution. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and please have a happy and wonderful Founders Day.
My name is Melody Brown Royal, a student of St. Jago High School, the #1 school. I had Mr. O.R. Bell as my principal. I found Mr. Bell to be one of the most caring persons one could meet. He had the interest of every single person at heart. Everybody was equally Mr. Bell's side. Mr. Bell would know us by name, and I think he became familiar with us because he would walk the corridors daily. He taught, but monitoring the corridors was his specialty. He would stop in some of the classrooms, and he would even go through the books of some of the students. But I think Mr. Bell was really trying to see if teachers were present, that sort of a thing. He was a disciplinarian. He did caning, he caned the boys. And he punished you in a meaningful way. Example, 2 boys got in a fight, and Mr. Bell had them sit in front of his office for an entire week. That resulted in those 2 boys becoming best friends. That's how Mr. Bell was. Mr. Bell lived close by, so he would sit on his veranda and he would see everybody going by, and at times he would call in some and have a conversation. You wouldn't be afraid of Mr. Bell. I remember one student saying Mr. Bell called him in once when he was in 6th form, and he asked him what was his plan after school, and he said he wanted to be a sports journalist. In Mr. Bell's mind, that's not a profession, so he invited him back to school to teach physics or biology. In my case, when I left, Mr. Bell invited me back to teach PE, and that was something I didn't realize how caring Mr. Bell was until I'm grown. And when I went back to be in the staff room, just leaving as student, He called me in and he guided me, on how to conduct myself. During devotions, for instance, Mr. Bell would tell us daily to walk two abreast because he felt your behavior on campus should be as good as off campus. He would tell you to the girls to be careful of what the boys would whisper in our ears, that sort of a thing. He just cared for every single soul. He left a foundation at St. Jago High School, a legacy. Nobody forgets Mr. Bell. Mr. Bell had, his diction was different. He wouldn't say boys, he would say boys, you boys. He was just a comedian, but he had depth. Everybody was treated equal, and he just had everybody's interest at heart. He would guide you into your next move, and Mr. Bell is loved. And I mean, every conversation that past students have, Mr. Bell's name comes up, and you would just laugh your head off because behind the brilliance, he had this sense of humor that you would die for.
I had the privilege of attending St. Jago High School under the leadership of three principals, Mr. Edwards, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Noel. All three principals had a profound impact on my life. They were strong male role models, and they impacted me in different ways. Mr. Edwards was a strong disciplinarian who believed in excellence. St. Jago High School is the best, and he wanted his students to be great examples of well-rounded individuals. Some students feared him, others revered him, but I admired him. He was a great leader. Mr. Johnson was the quiet storm. Little did I know that he believed in justice and discipline as much as he did. I remember going to him when I was in first form to report some fifth formers who were trying to flex their muscles on us because we were new to the school. He later found the boys, called them into his office, and disciplined them. He stood up for us, and he became a hero in my mind. Later on, when he was principal, he taught me math. That was a great experience. Mr. Noel now greatly impacted my development in the arts. He had a very hands-on approach as principal. He assisted the dance club in preparation for JCDC Dance Festival, and he even choreographed on us. St. Jago #1 was his mantra. And for us, not winning a single event didn't mean that we were not winners. St. Jago will always be #1. All three principals helped to shape who I am today, and I'm indebted to them. They made my experience fulfilling and memorable. St. Jago, #1.
Dan Cameron, and my best memory at St. Jago High School was in 1977. My friend and I left practice one day going home, and we stopped over somebody's yard to pick some mangoes. For some reason, the person saw that we went to St. Jago High School and reported us to Mr. Victor Edwards. So we went to school in the morning, in devotion in the hall, not knowing anything, and we heard Mr. Edwards call Bertland, Cameron, and Peter in. And we wondered why he was calling us. He said he get to find out that we jumped a fence, went over there, picked some mangoes, and destroyed the people's fence. So he called us up and tell us that we have to go back to the place that we're coming from and clean the place for one whole week, fix the fence, and report to him every morning. That was the memory that I'll never forget. He did it in a way like a father kind of man. He didn't rush us, he didn't say anything, and we were glad to go and work for 1 week at this house close to Rivoli.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Archibald Gordon. I'm a journalist by training and a proud graduate of St. Jago High School. And I am honored to have been asked to pay tribute to my first principal at St. Jago High School, Mr. Keith Noel. You know, Mr. Noel, even now I am terrified to walk on lawns because I still hear that big booming voice in my head when I'm about to step off, telling us to get off the lawn. But seriously, fun and joke aside, that's not the memory I have of St. Jago High School the most, and of your stewardship at St. Jago High School. It is in fact your arrival at the school and your effort to cultivate in us a sense of excellence, and a reminder that St. Jago is number one. And that was not just about saying we were number one, but doing our best to be number one. So whether you're talking about dance or drama or track and field or debating or schools challenge quiz or any kind of sporting activity or endeavor, we're constantly reminded not just to do the talking, but do the walking and do the actual work. As our school motto says, labor, omnia, vincit, labor conquers all. So thank you for cultivating that culture of excellence that I know graduates like myself have taken beyond the classroom into the world as a reminder of the kind of excellence that we can contribute to our community as well as our country. So congratulations, sir. Thank you for your stewardship, and God bless.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Troy Richards, and I attended St. Jago High between 1992 and 1997. I met Mr. Victor Edwards at the tail end of his tenure at St. Jago High. My recollection of Mr. Edwards is that he was a very stern individual, and he was very observant of everything that took place at the school. Mr. Johnson preceded Mr. Edwards as deputy or assistant principal at the time. And so I was with him for a very short period, but then Mr. Keith Noel took over formally as principal, and he was my principal for the duration of my time at St. Jago. My one experience I had with Mr. Noel is that I ended up starting the first basketball team in the history of the school, and I remember bringing the idea to Mr. Edwards, and he looked at me very intensely. He did not procrastinate, but he looked at me intensely and he said, "Troy, this is a very good initiative." Mr. Noel really did support me through that process in setting up the team and getting the necessary equipment. And so I'm proud, and it is one of the proud moments for myself and the experience that I had with Mr. Keith Noel. I know this message is about principal, but I must also acknowledge Miss Nina Bolgin and Miss Sandra Watson, who they were vice principal at the time, and they played a pivotal role in my development and growth at St. Jago High. They supported me on my journey. They were very interested in making sure that I was making the right decision. I was working hard at my schoolwork, and so I must acknowledge both ladies and the contribution that they have made in my life. I thank you very much for the opportunity to say a few words of gratitude to the school and to those individuals. I hope the Founders Day will be one of success, and that all fellow St. Jago or alumni will continue to support the school in the best way possible. Thank you.
So I am here to talk about my time at St. Jago High School. I actually came in on the tail end of Mr. Victor Edwards, and it was when I was in fourth form in 1993 that Keith A.I. Noel walked through those gates to become principal of St. Jago High School. The time with Mr. Noel was just phenomenal. It was awesome. Under the guidance of Mr. Noel, the school flourished in the performing arts. As a matter of fact, we didn't just flourish, we burgeoned. Mr. Noel created a cultural space for many of us to discover ourselves, to rise and to grow. So it was no surprise that the Marcus Garvey Award for Excellence in the Performing Arts actually found its first address here at St. Jago High. So Mr. Noel also fostered my growth in terms of academics, in terms of extracurricular, and also as a student leader. Happy Founders Day. We salute our principals.
Hi, I'm Kennard Grant, and I am among the privileged few to have attended St. Jago High School. I graduated the year 2001 and left sixth form the year 2003. I'm currently the council of the Bridgeport Division in the Portmore City Municipality. But we're here to talk about the real big man, Mr. Keith Noel. There are three things you must know about Mr. Noel. One, that voice. St. Jago! A devotion, the call, and the response from the students. Number one! Now, the other thing about that voice. You boy! Come here! It's a straight up thing. When you hear, you boy! The reaction is to freeze. Come here! The reaction is to walk in the direction of the voice. And that voice will be the voice of Mr. Keith Noel. The other thing I would like to talk about Mr. Noel is how he has impacted the growth of students in many different sectors. Personally, I was among those boys at school that will get in trouble. But Mr. Noel saw that energy in me and harnessed it and redirected it in a path of leadership. And to you, Mr. Noel, I am grateful. I have regarded you as one of the main persons that have made a direct influence on my life. And I will forever remember that line you told me, that teenagers need guidance because they often don't understand the implications of the choices they make. Thank you, Mr. Noel, for molding my life and the lives of many others. Big up yourself.
I had the greatest privilege of attending St. Jago High School between the years of 1995 and 2002 under the dynamic leadership of Mr. Keith Noel, who was the principal then and who is also my father. I have so many wonderful memories of my time at St. Jago, and it's really hard to just choose one, so I'll share two with you. The first was my first day of school. And I'm not talking about orientation, but the first day of school for the entire school. I remember going down Monk Street and through the gates of St. Jago High School, among the seas of green and khaki, and feeling excited, feeling proud, feeling a little nervous, but really just proud to be wearing the uniform and to be at this noble institution. I had heard so much about it from my mother, who is a past student, and then of course learning a lot about the current happenings and the exciting things that were happening at school from my father on a daily basis. There was no other place that I wanted to be. So I was really proud and ready to give my best that day. My other best memory of my time at St. Jago High School was when we retired the Marcus Garvey Trophy for excellence in the performing arts. It was a major deal. It was a major accomplishment. We had won that trophy year after year after year for about 9 or 10 years. And now it was being retired to us. We were going to retain that trophy. It was coming home to the place of excellence. It really was a nod to Mr. Keith Noel, who under his artistic direction and artistic vision for the school really helped that culture of performing arts to flourish and thrive at St. Jago. It was also a nod to all the teachers and students who dedicated themselves and embodied that spirit of excellence to give of their best in these competitions and to win the medals and to bring home the Marcus Garvey Trophy. So that was a most exciting time for us, because it really did mean that our core of performing arts students were exceptional. And I'm sure if you look around, you may find some of them today who are doing amazing things in the world of performing arts. But it also meant that retiring Marcus Garvey Trophy for excellence in the performing arts meant that St. Jago is number one.
It's a very great honor to be asked to speak of my experience with Mrs. Watson. A very tall order to do it in 1 minute, but I'll do my best. For 6 years and 1 term, she wasn't only my principal, but a very key partner in my growth as a person and as a young professional. I remember my first closest interaction with her was in 2010 when I did an interview with her, and she spoke so resolutely about how she launched herself on the pillars of honesty, that whatever she says, wherever she says it, she should be able to own what she says, wherever else called to speak on it. I remember a moment when she would say, "Sunil, a young lady never runs. She quickly and briskly walks." And to this day, no matter what the haste I'm in, I always remember her voice in my head saying, "A young lady never runs. She quickly and briskly walks." She, even now, as being an adult and leaving St. Jago after so long, she still plays a very integral role in my life. I lost my dad recently, and she was one of my St. Jago family who constantly checked in on me. She was at my father's memorial service, and those things mean so much to me. Thank you very much, Miss Watson. It would take a decade and a day to speak effectively on how much you impacted me, but I hope those 2 experiences suffice.
I'm Javon Keys, broadcast reporter at the Jago Communications Group and a proud past student of St. Jago High School. Now, I started St. Jago back in 2010, and I was just so excited to be a part of this culture of excellence and greatness. And pity did I not know that it would have been the best experience that I would have had. I mean, my St. Jago High School experience for me has paved the way for me to be who I am now, and I tell people all the time that I am where I am and I am who I am, all because of what was inculcated to me while I was at St. Jago. I was prepared for the world. Now, my time at St. Jago had me interfacing with 2 principals, Mrs. Sandra Swyer-Watson, who was quite stern but witty, always an avid conversation holder, and it was always a really good experience to talk with Mrs. Sandra Swyer-Watson, and she always had a wealth of knowledge to share. And Mrs. Colette Price later came, and I always say that I was the first full year head boy, and my head buddy, we've always said that we were the first full year head buddy to serve with her. And she was always very open-minded, very fun, and always also very stern and strict, and we appreciate the kind of experiences that we got from both principals. I would say that my experiences now today and my outlook on life was all shaped by my experiences with both principals, and of course my time at the home of excellence and greatness, St. Jago, number 1.
I am a past student of the St. Jago High School, and all of my best high school memories are from being a part of the drama club, doing JCDC, traveling all over to perform. It was a blast, and it made my high school experience unforgettable. I was there in the year with Miss Swyer-Watson. She was very stern. When you hear she said, "Boy, you have to line up yourself," but at the same time, she was very approachable, and to me, one of the best principals.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrine Leslie, a proud past student of St. Jago High School. I would say my best memory was when we won School Challenge Quiz. That was my lower 6 years, so that's 2019 I think. It was so fun to walk around Spanish Town and blow the horns, and especially because we never have class, so that was a really exciting day. And the principal that added to my St. Jago experience, I was privileged to have 2 principals, 2 of the great females. I had Mrs. Sandra Swyer-Watson in 1st and 2nd form. Then from 3rd form up, I would have Mrs. Price. I would have had Mrs. Price. Now, Mrs. Price, I would say this is the lady that molded me when I needed someone to talk to. She was always there. As you know, I call her my absolute fave. She's someone that even though I'm no longer a student of the institution, I can go to her about any and everything. So happy Founders Day, St. Jago, and I wish you guys all the best. Bye!
Hello everyone, I'm Demarly Cohen, and I am a Students' Council representative of Form 6V1. To pick the best experience that I have had at St. Jago High School is extremely difficult because I've had so many awesome experiences at Ravensworth. But one of the more recent highlights was when I received my CSEC results. I got 8 1s and a 2, and can you tell? I was extremely ecstatic. A person that really added to the value of my experience was Mrs. Colette Furtado Price, our current principal, as she supported me in so many ways, most importantly, emotionally. I'm not sure if I've said it before, but Mrs. Price, if you're listening to this, I'm really appreciative and grateful for everything that you have done. Just know that they didn't go unnoticed. Once again, thank you.
My name is Jaden Wilby and I'm a student of Form 5A. My most memorable moment at St. Jago would have to be where in first form I used a razor and shaved off my eyebrows. Our current principal, Mrs. Price, really helped me that day because I was facing a lot of mockery for my actions and I was in need of a quick fix. Before I get into that, I'd like to give you a bit of background. The night before going to school, I went online and found out that if I used an eyebrow pencil properly, I'd be able to cover up my mistakes. I went to school the next morning to where I saw Mrs. Price and Miss Armstrong standing. I went up, I spoke to Miss about the issue and I asked her for assistance. While she wasn't able to fully help me cover up the mistakes, I truly appreciate her effort because without that effort, I wouldn't have known if I was on the right track to fix this. I really thank Miss Price because if it hadn't been for her that day, I'd have walked around with half of both eyebrows missing. So Miss Price, I truly thank you.
Hello everybody, I'm Jago Gordon, past deputy head boy of St. Jago High School and now production assistant at the RGR Communications Group and a UE student. Being at St. Jago is one of the best experiences. I mean, there are a lot, but if I could choose one, it would have to be being the manager of the track and field boys team, going every Sunday at track meets and just helping and molding students in whatever way I can. And this was under the patronage of 2 principals, Miss Sandra Swyer-Watson and Miss Colette Furtado Price. And undoubtedly, these 2 principals have helped me so much in my journey and just holistic development. I'm so grateful.
We're 1,000 miles from comfort. We have traveled land and sea. But as long as you are with me, there's no place I'd rather be. I would away forever, exalted in the sea. As long as I am with you, my heart continues to beat. With every step we take, Kyoto to the bay, strolling so casually. We're different and the same.